Hey Addicts, I'm Josh.
I'm Michael.
And today we got another anime review for you. This time we're talking about Cells at Work, which, if you guys haven't seen this, it's basically the Japanese version of Osmosis Jones, or like the old 80s cartoon that we think was called Life.
Yeah, I don't know. I think that's right.
Anyway, so this is a really simple show. It's like one that's kind of just one-offs every episode. It just deals with different things going on in the body. But the primary thing that goes from episode to episode is we follow primarily one red blood cell who doesn't know her job. She kind of gets lost along the way when she's delivering oxygen or other nutrients to the body. And so that's kind of a main thing that factors into the show. But you also get the second main character, which is a white blood cell who is kind of there for red blood cells, like friend and I guess security.
Yeah, security.
But along with that, we get some like supporting parts of the body that we get introduced to, and it's really scientific. So
yeah, it's educational.
Educational.
Kids out there, watch this.
Yeah,
you may be scarred by the
amount of blood that's sprayed from the germs. Yeah. So anyway, I guess transitioning to Michael with the characters.
Yeah. So like Josh said, the main two characters, you have one red blood cell and you have one white blood cell, and those are the ones you basically follow for majority of the episode. I think there's one episode where it's just some other cells, but you get to see them like. You actually get a flashback episode, you get to see them as like children or like trainer cells, and then you get to see them as full-grown white blood cell or red blood cells. In addition to that, you have some characters that are unique and some that are not. What I mean by that is like their appearance may be the same for every cell of that kind. For example, I think the macrophagy is one where her appearance is the same even if there's like 10 of these cells around. And then you have some that are more unique. So the base T cells are kind of like that. I think we follow some commander cells as well. That kind of like they're like how would I say? They're like the president of this body basically. So they help coordinate military efforts to kill the germs. And then you have those are commander cells. That's a unique one as well. But you have some other like T cells. You have one particular T cell that you get to know. You have detrite. You have a bunch of different kinds of white blood cells. You have cells themselves. So there's a lot of supporting characters there, but basically every episode you have the red blood cell and the white blood cell experiencing their side of whatever disease or, basically a paper cut, scrape that may happen. And you can't forget about the platelets. They are pretty great. Those are semi-specific characters. You have children, maybe kindergarten age, that are the platelets, and they're doing what platelets do,
just fixing the body.
Fixing the body, yeah. So it's that this element certainly has some this show certainly has some elements that are cool and some like I would say cute elements with those characters, and you get to kind of experience. And there is character progression with specifically red blood cell with her trying to get her job done.
Yeah, it's really interesting how they like balance everything because it's very much kind of like a one-off each episode because they deal with different things, but they do have a nice balancing of connecting stuff from the previous episodes and then also having somewhat of a character growth. I would say as much as could be expected out of a show kind of like this, and it's just really interesting to see how they were able to balance. I don't want to say realism specifically, but just, I guess, staying true to some biological, actual scientific things, because it is more educational, because every time they introduce a new cell or a new thing that's happening that's specific in the body, they'll actually go into detail and explain what that is and how it actually operates. And so that's a really cool thing, but at the same time, it's like, it's not super realistic because they're
personification.
Yeah.
People.
Yeah. And so, and like, Michael said, there's like some where they look all the same, and you're like, it makes sense because they're cells and there's really no difference between one type, right? But then there's like other ones where they'll have like different variations of like the same cell. Like there's like 6 different looks to like a red blood cell, and you're like, that's a little weird, but okay, I support it. So it's like one of those things where it's like you take it with a grain of salt. It's like when you watch SpongeBob, you don't sit there and analyze like, how are they getting fire to work underwater? It's like, no, it's just like you appreciate for what it is. But
so one of the parts that we could talk about, in our favorite moments is specifically the education aspect of the show. As someone who has not studied biology in
Or forgets a lot
many
from-
years and barely knew what a white blood cell and a red blood cell did. The show kind of helped me know more about the human body, and that was kind of cool. And it was fun to like learn along with people when I was watching the show. I'd be like, oh, so that's what it does. Cool. I don't know what would you say about that aspect of the show?
Yeah, I think it's something that's really interesting because, like Michael, I forgot a lot of my biology and chemistry years, so it was cool seeing that aspect played in and actually, in an educational way. But also, I just like the way that they, write the characters because they seem very specific in terms of like how their character acts to like what kind of cell they are. So like when Michael was talking about the T, well, I don't know if you
Killer T cells.
Yeah, killer T cells. Yeah. They are, I guess, cells that are supposed to, attack, infections and germs and stuff like that. They're in there. They're not necessarily the first responders, but they are someone that gets in there if it's getting, a little hairy. Mm-hmm. And, considering what that cell does, they have a character trait that's kind of similar to them where they're kind of like a military personnel and they like scream at the naive killer T cells. So that's cool to see that. I like how they, add a character so it kind of gets you, like even if you don't remember what exactly they said, their like job is, those kind of traits kind of help you remember, and I think that helps stick with you. But one of the other things I really liked was just like the main opening to the
opening
show.
Is really good. The music is really good in it.
Yeah.
There's one episode where they switch out the singing parts. That's interesting as well.
It's only the one episode too. Like I thought they were trying to switch it for the back half of the season, but then maybe they got backlash, so they were just like, no,
let's put it back. It's a really good song though. It's one that you can't skip for sure. I was going to talk a little bit about just my favorite moments. There's just episodes that specifically I can remember that I just really enjoyed. The last episode, the ending, is a really good ending. I think it's a solid ending. And for a show, we were talking about this, but for a show like this, you could have a second season, but I think it's at the place where you could just end it off there and it would be good. So if they wanted to educate people more about different things, they could have a second season, but this ending was perfect for just ending the show in general. Besides that, I really liked, there's an episode with a parasite. I really liked that episode. The original episode where they have a scrape is really good as well. And so those are just a couple of my favorite moments. What about you?
Yeah, the one where it's like a knee scrape, that one's really great. That's probably one of my favorite ones. Like if I had to do like a top 3, there's actually one later in the season that harkens back to that episode. It's the same infection, but they come back in, I guess, greater numbers. And that has one of the, I guess I should say one of my favorite cells. It's the monocytes. It's pretty great. And again, it's like one of those that, it has a pretty comedic route in the sense that like these things aren't like threatening at all, but the way it's portrayed in the show, it's like, this is the apocalypse, our world's about to end.
Yes, you can see that specifically with the allergy episode, which was great.
That one's great. I don't know is that the same episode where the guy's like predicting everything? There's like one character
I think that's the parasite episode.
Yeah, that one's really great too. There's like a guy that's I guess he's like a memory cell, and he's like, these prophecies have been handed down for generations, and this is the sign of the world ending.
Yeah, I don't know, that may be that one, or that may be the flu episode, which is another good one.
Yeah. So there's like, as you can probably tell from us talking about it, a lot of these episodes are just, banger after banger. They were really great. I think there was only maybe like 2 or 3 episodes that I felt a little, that I felt weren't on par with maybe the rest of the season.
Yeah, I think my least favorite episode would be when it's Commander T-Cell, like their backstory with.
Yeah.
It was decent, but it wasn't like awesome.
Yeah. So, like I said, or like we've said, there are some parts that maybe dip a little bit in like enjoyment, but overall this has been really great. I guess getting kind of into final thoughts, I think this is a great show. If you want to, I think this is a good opening to like anime. Like if you wanted to introduce anime, this is like one of those that's pretty just fun. It's got a mixture of comedy and action. I guess it's more so like a lighthearted show than it is, serious action. But it does have that in there if you want something like that. I think, this is a good show that if you wanted to show like your family, like this is a good family show. I mean, maybe not like too young, but you know what I mean. You'll know from the first episode. But also, I really want to see this in a school setting somehow.
Yeah.
There's needs. If any of you are a teacher, please show this to these students.
I may switch my career to be a teacher just so I can show this. But yeah, I would agree with Josh. This is a good intro show. I would say probably the second one. I would still probably put One Punch Man as like the best show to introduce to someone.
Yeah,
but
this is one of
there.
those on there.
Yeah.
Like list.
So what's your rating? I cut you off.
My rating, I think this is a gotta have it for me. I think this is a really solid show. It's got good comedic value. Like I said, there are some parts of the show that dip a little bit, so that's why I have to give it a little bit less. But I think overall you'll enjoy it, and it's just one of those ones that you can enjoy. Like, you don't have to watch in order, you know? You can just pick it up here and there, and you'll like it.
Yeah, I was thinking about my rating as well. I think I'd have to give it a gotta have it as well. It's really close to an FFA in my mind. As funny as it sounds, I think if they had a romance with the red blood cell and the white blood cell, then it'd be an FFA. But you know, they never.
They would have showed more platelets. That might
yeah,
too.
Yeah, true. They only showed platelets for like 2 or 3 episodes, and they're just the best characters. But yeah, I think it's a solid gotta have it. Really good recommendation, and if you haven't seen it, now's the time to watch it. It's on Crunchyroll, so
yeah. And you can watch the whole season now.
You can watch the whole season. Well, that's pretty much it for us today. We have quite a few anime reviews on the channel already. More coming out. We got light novels as well. We got. We're probably going to start a series episode by episode. You probably will have a couple of those out by now for a couple different series. We'll keep that a secret, even though it'll be on the channel most likely. We have a podcast, and we have actually some more American comic books that we've been putting out there as well. So you check that out as well. And with all those, links will be in the description. And later, Addicts.
Later.